Good morning. It's wonderful to be with you this morning. And what a privilege to be here at Georgia-Cumberland camp meeting. And what a privilege it is to be able to share the good news about Adventist education. Moving minds upward. That's our theme for this morning. And you will see in the rest of the presentation how we are moving minds upward in Adventist education. We're part of that large system, North American Division, Adventist Education, in which their motto is a journey toward excellence. And I think you would agree with me that God calls us to excellence. And I'm going to tell you specifically about CognitiveGenesis within the larger context of Adventist education. Now, how many of you have seen this article in the Christian Science Monitor back in November? Would you raise your hands? Okay, we don't have too many people out there, so I think I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time on this, Cynthia. Please look at the screens and you will see this was an article in the Christian Science Monitor, and notice the title, For Real Education Reform, Take a Cue from the Adventists. Now, while I may have written the article that was published in the Christian Science Monitor, I did not write that title. They came up with that title itself. 2 days later, in the Los Angeles Times, Opinion LA, take a notice there of that title, The Conversation, Pursuing Successful Education Reform Might Mean Going the Way of who? The Adventists. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is the first time that Adventist education has received national media attention. In recent years, the Adventist Church has been the subject of much public fascination because of its focus on health, longevity, and wholeness, including a documentary called The Adventist and the book called The Blue Zone because of the Adventist Health Study. How many of you have seen The Adventist, the film The Adventist? Okay, a few more of you. How many of you have read The Blue Zone? Do you know that Loma Linda, California is a blue zone? Okay, Adventist education, however, recently has been garnering national media attention. Did you know that? Outside of the Adventist community, people are looking to us, wanting to know what accounts for the gains in student achievement and ability in our schools. I'm going to tell you about this project that establishes what our students are actually doing in our schools academically. And it's CognitiveGenesis, and the question is, how does Adventist education measure up? There are two major questions. How are our students doing, and what factors may contribute to their success? Now, we use standardized tests to determine this so that we could compare them with other hundreds of thousands of students taking the same test, but not within our system, to figure out how does Adventist education measure up. And because we think that this is a unique system, would you agree with me that our system is a unique system? We wanted to find out what factors, what things might affect or influence achievement and ability. This is our project design, and I want to spend a little bit of time here. I'm not sure where I should point this. We tested for achievement, and then we tested for ability. Now, most school systems test simply for achievement, but that doesn't give us the whole picture. To really understand what is contributing to achievement, we needed to look at some other things. And so we looked at ability, another standardized test, and then if you see those green boxes down the left side, we also obtained lots of information from the students, their parents, their teachers, and their schools in order to see what are some of those unique things that might be contributing to achievement and to ability. And stay tuned because I'm going to tell you a little of that in just a moment. Here are the vital stats. 900 schools in the North American division, that's the United States, Canada, and Bermuda, participated in the study. Over 51,000 students were in the final data set, even though we had over 100,000 students at the beginning. And notice their parents, as well as their teachers, participated, and schools participated in the study as well. Now, here are the test results. And I'm going to ask for audience participation here, so you need to be looking at the slides. Students in Adventist schools in achievement scored above the national average in how many subjects? Boy, we have attention here this morning. And for how many grades? Okay, and they scored above predicted achievement in what? All subjects? How many grades? All school sizes? Did you see that? And do you know that 60% of our schools are considered small schools with 3 teachers or fewer, and regardless of ability level? Now, predicted achievement, that was that cognitive abilities test that we gave students that could tell us what kind of achievement could we expect based on their ability. Notice that all the students in all the schools, in all the subjects, and in all the grades scored above their expected achievement. Is that not great? Now, I want to tell you that a very interesting finding came about that at first we weren't sure about. And after the first year, we thought, well, maybe that's a fluke. But over 4 years, we have noticed this, and that is our students increase in ability. In fact, they increase in ability more than they do in achievement. And I want to remind you of a statement from the Spirit of Prophecy. Ellen White says, "It is the work of true education to train the youth to be" what? Thinkers. I'm going to propose that that's ability, and not mere reflectors of other people's thoughts. That's achievement. Now think for a moment, does it look like, based on these test results over 4 years, that we're accomplishing the thinking part of it? Yes, it does, because they are increasing in ability as years go by. Now I'm going to share with you another dramatic finding as we look at factors related to good achievement. School size. There were small differences between smaller and larger schools in both achievement and ability. However, the differences are consistently in favor of small schools. So you parents out there and grandparents who think small might not be so good, good things come in small packages. And we have a lot of good things happening in our small schools. Something else. Notice this graph. The blue line is achievement and the red line is ability. And is it going upwards, or is it staying steady, or is it going down? What is it doing? It's going upwards. And notice that it's the number of years in Adventist school. So the more years that students have in Adventist schools, the higher the achievement and the higher the ability. What do you think about that? Students who transfer to our school system gain in achievement and ability. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the results we are finding from those surveys. Students with higher achievement spend appropriate time after school in positive activities. You say, what are positive activities? I can't give you all of them. I'll give you a couple. 1, reading for pleasure after school. And 2, engaging in religious activities. So they're participating in some religious activities involved with the school or their church. They have a positive spiritual outlook. They have healthy relationships with their parents. They communicate a lot with parents. Parents listen to their children, and they take care of their health. We had a recent student complete her doctoral dissertation looking at health and achievement, and guess what she found? Diet, exercise, overall health was positively correlated with achievement. Now, that shouldn't surprise us for people who have a health message, right? All right, what about home and parent factors? What's happening there? What are some of the things maybe influencing achievement? Good family communication, parents listen to their children, good involvement with the school, that is, parents are involved with the school, discipline in the home, high expectations, that is, the parents have high expectations for their children, not just academically, but in all kinds of ways. And then there's a spiritual, harmonious home. What about at the schools? Well, our schools have safe, nurturing climates. They have a good academic climate, and they get good support from pastors and constituent churches. Now, I know for a fact that Southern Union supports Adventist education. You are now seeing with this study the results of some of your support. But I would like to talk to pastors right now and all of those who are serving in some pastoral capacity. Do you realize that there is a connection? We haven't been able to explain it yet, but schools who have excellent pastoral support and the support of their churches, those schools are higher achieving schools. Did you hear that? And the pastors and the churches aren't in there teaching anything, but their presence and their support makes a difference. Now, what about the teachers? And by the way, we have terrific teachers. Whatever is happening happens because we work together as a group, but the teachers are down there, or out there, not down there, but out there in the trenches. And teachers who use progressive methods, who are interested in their own development, professional development, and who interact with other educators, those students who have teachers like that do well. But take a look at the last two bullets. They also give students extra help, and they interact with students about personal issues. So they take a personal interest in their students. I'd like you to think about this a moment. If you have a teacher who says, I believe that Johnny is a child of God, and I am committed to developing Johnny's God-given potential, wouldn't you want a teacher like that teaching your child or your grandchild? Now, based on what I've told you, mainly from test results, could you answer this question, yes or no? Is there an Adventist advantage to Adventist schools? All right, very good. Secular education, according to social education critics, is failing. And they say, why is it failing? It has no moral center, no social or intellectual center. It's good at producing persons with no commitment and no point of view, but with plenty of marketable skills. Is that something that we want? I don't think so. There is no set of ideas or attitudes that permeates all parts of the curriculum. Now, I'm going to give you one more quote. The solution proposed by secular critics is this. Keep in mind my emphasis on secular. The most important contribution schools can make to the education of our youth is to give them a sense of coherence in their studies, a sense of purpose, meaning, and interconnectedness in what they learn. I'm going to suggest to you that Adventist education does that. One, because we believe that the Adventist advantage comes from the harmonious development of the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. In addition to that, We have an Adventist worldview that connects everything that the students are studying. So we have a coherent, unified curriculum based on the Adventist worldview. Now, what do you think the Adventist worldview is? I would say one of the things that it emphasizes and that is in our DNA is the great controversy, is the fact that God is our creator and he's created everything on this earth, including us. And that unifies our curriculum. But in addition to that, in addition to the written curriculum, we have a hidden curriculum. And the hidden curriculum is everything that happens in our schools that is not written down in those curriculum books. And let me give you an example. When a teacher begins a class with prayer, when a teacher who sees a student having personal difficulties and draws that student aside and tries to help and has prayer with that student, all those activities, service activities that schools arrange for opportunities for our students to learn service. That's part of, I think, the Adventist advantage. And then the support of communities. Now you say community, she has a plural there. And yes, it's a deliberate plural. Our students in Adventist schools have the support of their families, their church school, their church community. That's just one of three. Those are just three communities that are supporting our students. We also have the conference, the union, and we could even say the NAD. So they have all these communities that are supporting them. How many of you have heard of the book, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? He's probably the leading American sociologist, and he's written a book called The Outliers, subtitle, The Secret of Success. And he looks at people who have been unusually successful in this world. And one of the things that he discovers is that even though we might think it has all to do and only to do with that individual, he has found that it is communities that determine the success of an individual. It could be a small community or a larger community. I'm going to say that we have the opportunities here with Adventist education to have the support of multiple communities. And we can therefore contribute to the success of every child who is in our church and in our schools. Now, I'm going to predict the future with some help from another study. And you say, well, wait a minute here. Isn't she a Christian? How can she be predicting the future? Well, I'll tell you, I'm not consulting a crystal ball, and I can't read palms. But I look at the data. I observe and I look at the data, and other people have been doing that too. And we can tell you some things based on that observation. There are three important environments in a child's life. The home. No matter what, the home is always the most important environment. It could be a good home or a bad home, but it's still the most important environment. And then we have the school. And then in our community, we have the church. So you have three important communities. Now we're going to see, based on those communities, whether or not we can predict some things out into the future. Notice, given the material and information that we have, we can predict whether a student will remain an Adventist. If you look on the left side of the screen, you will see that the 22%, they have no quality environments. Now, I have to tell you that quality is important. So they do not have a quality home, a quality school, or a quality church. But take a look at your far right, where you will see there they have all three: a quality home, a quality school, and a quality church. Do you see how the percentage rises? Now, what about denominational loyalty? How do those three environments have an effect? Once again, on the left-hand side, the lowest percentage are for individuals who have no quality home, no quality school, or no quality church. And on the far right, the highest column there, there are 3 quality environments: the school, the home, and the church. And lastly, because we are interested in this is the emphasis of our work in our schools, and that is the spiritual emphasis. Take a look at this. They grow in faith. They mature in faith if they have all 3 of those quality environments. Now, if I were to ask you, after the home, which is the most important environment after the home? Shout it out. We've got the school back here. Okay, and guess what? They're right. After the home, the Adventist classroom is the most significant influence on the child. By instruction and example, the Adventist teacher reinforces essential religious values. You know, some parents say to me, well, I want my kid to eventually go to Harvard, and I think if we send them to an Adventist school, they're not going to make it because the academics are not that great in Adventist schools. Would you, given the information this morning, be able to disagree with that kind of thinking? Yes, and do you know that 85% of graduating Adventist young people from academies go on to college? 85%. Out in the public sector, it barely approaches 50%. We have 85% of our students going on to college, and then 80% of them graduate from college. That's a prediction. Now, I come back to the statement I read earlier. This solution that's proposed by secular critics. The most important contribution schools can make to the education of our youth is to give them a sense of coherence in their studies, a sense of purpose, meaning, and interconnectedness in what they do or what they learn. I would say that we are doing that, and that contributes for the success that we've been documenting for the past 4 years. We have noticed it within the church, but I think sometimes we take things for granted. And I'd like you to know that now other institutions within the United States are looking at us. So other Christian school systems, other universities are saying, what a database you have. We can't believe that your students are doing as well as they are. Tell us what is the secret. And we said, we're still plumbing the data to find out what is the secret. I suspect that we already know because we believe in this holistic approach. But to look at some very specific things, we have to do more study. But in addition to the United States interest, do you realize that there's global interest in the Seventh-day Adventist education system? Let me tell you that China and the Chinese are looking to us for a program that they are developing in China. They have asked us to partner with them in developing a curriculum for their high school students whom they want to prepare to come here to study in the United States. What do you think about that? Imagine the Chinese government and how pragmatic they are and how different they are in the value systems from Adventists. But the one thing they have in common with us is that they want the best possible education for their young people. Is that not what we want for ours? And so they are looking to us to help them develop a curriculum that will help their high school students achieve what ours have been achieving. Not only have other countries been interested in us, but also the documentary filmmaker who made The Adventist, which, by the way, just won an award recently in the past month, the Gabriel Award, for the best religious film made last year, has said to us, you know, the Adventist education story is an untold story. We need to disseminate, or we need to tell other people this extraordinary story about Adventist education. And so a film is being planned, an hour-long documentary film which will reach 20 million people, and will be shown on public broadcasting television. What do you think about that? Now, if you have an opportunity to support that film, because we're out there raising money for the production of that film, I hope that you will join us in that. Because it's not just about touting Adventist education, but remember this statement: in the highest sense, the work of education and the work of redemption are one. And as we share with other people, with other countries, the secrets of our success in our education system, we are in fact evangelizing. So that's our highest goal, okay? The work of education and the work of redemption are one. And I want to thank Southern Union, Georgia-Cumberland Conference for supporting education the way that you do. Thank you so much.